Is this market in a bubble? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. Does this market have any more strength to the upside? When it might come down? I'm sure some of you are asking that question. We're going to discuss a little bit of that later. First, I want to make a little announcement. One of the things we're going to be doing here, I talked a little bit about it last week in Happy Hour, was a new thing called Mini Camp. It's just a short 5-part series. It's going to cover everything about short selling that we do. If you followed some of these last videos, seen some of the whiteboards, you know about the gains, over $300,000 this year, another $5,500 added on this week, mainly from short selling. So even in the biggest bull markets, there are some of the greatest short selling opportunities. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this series is because I think we're coming up on a time right now. If you look at some stocks like X, for example, Fran, F-R-A-N, some stocks that really started to pull back heavily on Friday. I think you're entering a period as we approach the inauguration where it will pay you hand over fist to understand the full concept of short selling. Even if you never intend to actually short sell a stock, you're completely against it, you at least owe it to yourself from an educational standpoint to understand what a short seller is thinking, because it will help you make more money on your longs. But we're going to go through everything about the strategies used, even talk a little bit about dip buying, because one of the common misconceptions is just because the stock is up a lot, people think it calls for a short, and that's not necessarily the case. We've talked about that, but we're going to go into these strategies. In addition, by signing up with Minicamp, you also get a free DVD, which is our 6-hour Trading as an Art DVD that talks about those strategies with live trade examples. Plus, from the moment that you sign up until you complete the course, you will have free access to our live trade room. And I do this because when you learn these lessons and you see what we're talking about, what ties it all together is to trade with us live and watch it play on screen, because every trade is different. And that way you understand how we find the stocks, what we're looking for, the indicators that we're using, and how we manage the positions, whether they turn out good or bad. So I put the link here right below. Make sure you enroll in Minicamp. We're going to have a really good time. Now, we also have something new for you, because I'm going to introduce a libation that we have yet to discover, and not yet to discover, we have yet to taste. But I don't want you to I want you to bear with me on this one, because today we're going to taste test a little tequila. That's right, some tequila. Now, I say don't judge, because not everything, that's going to be our topic of whiteboard, not everything is what it seems. Tequila definitely gets a bad name because I think all of us have at least one or two stories while under the influence of tequila that we regret that we did. There were some dark stories that come behind tequila, and it's come a long way over the last few years. There's definitely some higher end brands of tequila, but a lot of people don't think that you can just drink tequila like a scotch, like neat, like a bourbon or something. Well, you can, and one of my favorites, like, for example, Patrons and stuff like that, but one of my favorites is this Cazadores. Wait a second. Let me get my Mexican on. Cazadores. That sounds better. This is a really smooth tasting tequila that you can just drink straight and neat. So we're going to try some. I haven't had any in a while. You know, most people drink these in mixed drinks, daiquiris and stuff like that. You can definitely do it. But tequila, this kind of tequila right here, is really clean and very, very smooth. And it's decent to drink. So if you look at it here, it's very clear. I mean, compared to the scotches that we've been drinking, some of them have a dark, rich caramel tone to it. This is almost like water. You can barely tell. I feel kind of embarrassed by sniffing it, like I'm trying to tempt my palate with this warm, rich fruits flavors that come from tequila, but that doesn't exist. It's just a smooth tequila. So I'm going to drink some and get this happy hour started. See, it's pretty good. Because usually when you drink tequila like that, if you drink it straight, if you're brave enough, it usually just goes right through your eyeball and you're going, ugh, right there. But this is smooth, as I said. You get a chance. Try yourself a little Cazadores. It's probably, I haven't bought, this is an old bottle. I've had it sitting around. You can see actually how much of it I drink. Maybe 30 bucks, 20 bucks, 30 bucks. So if you're in the market for a tequila, you want to mix a drink with a tequila, you know, do yourself a favor. Get yourself some smooth, quality, good tasting tequila, and it'll do yourself wonder. So let's talk a little bit about this market. It is crazy. I mean, this thing just went nuts this week, and we just saw grind after rip, and everything was going straight up, almost with like zero pullback. And that's rare. And one of the things I kind of want to point out when we look at the market is, I'm going to pull up a chart here real quick. One of the things that I noticed that was interesting, at least to me, about this market this week is we've crossed highs a few times. I'm just going to go back through this year, but you look at the highs from Brexit when the market made an all-time high. You get the big flush from Brexit. We've talked about this. The market kind of scoots right on back up. Then when it gets to highs, it just kind of slowly moves above highs. And then it consolidates for a couple of months. And you go back and you look at the few times that we've made highs, a couple of times here and there throughout the years. That's what it's done. So what I'm saying is once it's broken out through highs, it slowly just kind of grinded and just melted up over the highs and then found a leveling point. Now when we broke out this time, a couple of days back, at the 222 spot, look at the difference in the chart. It goes straight vertical. It blows through it. Now why is that important? Because every correction that's ever happened, or when the correction was beginning, every time the stock market would make a new high, you would see this blow-off move. What that means is there is an emotional play here. So when the market goes, let me try to explain it this way. When the market went up before, people would look at it and they would be bullish but cautiously bullish. They would make cautious bets. Here, everybody just said, hell with that, I don't want to miss this rally. And they just went straight in, not looking at anything. So what happens here is fundamentals go to the wayside, technical analysis goes to the wayside, and the fear of missing out emotion takes over. And you see what this happens in different time segments, like intraday blow off top, some of the stuff that we do with shorting of the emotional part. But that's what you've seen here. Now I can't say that this is going to lead, this is probably the beginning phases of a correction. Like when you're trying to predict, if you're asking me if I'm predicting a correction, it's hard to do that because by the time most people realize we're in a correction, they're already knee deep upside down. Like the market's already faded or dumped a few days in a row and they're like, oh, what just happened? That's the way it has. So you kind of look at these signs ahead of time and you try to figure. I would think as here's my opinions, which my opinions, I never fall in love with my opinions because they could change Monday morning. But I'm looking at it this way. It's going to be hard to see any real deep pull until maybe after Christmas. And I'm just basing that on, again, emotion. Market's great. Everybody's buying into what this great economy is going to be like. And it's the holiday, the Santa rally, all that emotional stuff. And you got this Dow 20,000, that emotional milestone. I think it has to hit 20,000 before you see anything. And to me, the sooner the better. Just get there. Don't take a couple of days off. Just get there now and get it over with. And that's what we're kind of talking about here is emotion. You know, there comes a time where you're making a legitimate decision about a trade. And then it's overthrown by your emotional behavior. That's what causes traders to lose money. So in this case, I think that's where we're at. We're in an emotional phase. So we are in a bubble, but you know, again, bubbles can go for a long time. And I'm not in the business of picking tops and bottoms. I'm just trying to gauge a feel for market conditions. Sure, this won't last, but for right now, there's still some emotional power behind it. So you may continue to see this market just continue to grind it out. We've got a Fed meeting coming up. That might hinder it a little bit. And then, of course, the holidays, the happy spirits, and the inauguration that you have coming up in January. So I'm not really looking for a massive change in market tempo and pace until after the inauguration. You might get a couple sell days here, but buy the dip's still going to be a strong emotional base point for a lot of people. And you're going to see this. Now, there's individual stocks that made a lot. When I talked at the beginning, I talked about some great trades. X was one that we had been following. And this is something that we're going to discuss in this upcoming webinar series, is that, you know, there's different types of ways. To me, when I look at shorting a stock, it's not so much how much it went up. It's how did you get there? That's one of the things we're going to really talk about is how did you get to where you were at? And when you're looking at this X, there was a lot of things about this. I don't think it's ever moved this much in its lifespan. 100 and some percent since the election. I understand why the stock was rally. I get it. But there comes a point where it's like, okay, that's enough. Now you no longer have the smart investor. You have the fear of missing out investor, which we've talked about a couple of times. So we get, short here at 39 in our swing program, and now you're sitting here after hours on a Friday with 36s. I'm trying to hold out for a little bit more, but this is some of the stuff we're going to discuss how these trades work. You're going to see a lot more of these types of parabolic trades that do fading. And we've seen a few of these. And for example, we're going to talk about some coming up this week. One is GPI. Now, one of the things that's really been the theme since the election is infrastructure plays such as steel, like you're seeing, trucking, industry, those kind of stocks have really gone just off the wall. And what I want people to understand, again, we're going to discuss this in the web. I keep going back to the minicamp. But you look at a stock like GPI, you get the idea, but there's a limit. Even if their business was to increase tenfold, it still wouldn't justify the current price. So you're looking at a stock here from 55 to 81 since the election. This is something that I'm looking to short, mainly from a swing point because the intraday volume is not enough volatility in there for me to want to take it right now. But I like this trade, kind of feeling it step by step like I did with Fran this week, looking for some lower highs, some breakdowns of support, trying to get a good feel for the stock. But I like this one. I think you're going to see a retracement back to 76. Remember, the slightest pullback, the slightest piece of profit taking, whether that happens now or from the end of the year, can send a lot of these stocks down 8 to 10%. It's not like they're up 3 to 5% since the election. I mean, some of these stocks are up 50 to 100%. So you got to think that any kind of one down day, you're in a delicate bubble here. That any kind of bad news, anything can set this market off on a sell right now because people know they're skating on thin ice. That's just my opinion. But I like this GPI. I also like this KFY, I think it is. Let me see if I can pull up the chart. Yeah, this is another one. I mean, look at this thing. $20 to $30. I mean, there's certainly higher percentage ones, but you look at the daily chart, this thing's just gone nuts. I mean, you got 6, 7 great green days in a row. Of course, you're going to see a lot of stocks that look like this. A lot of charts are going to be like this. So, if we can get some pop on this, something strong starting on Monday, I think it would be pretty good. Now, I talked about trucking. Let's go to YRCW. YRCW. I got to pull it up. There we are. This is another one. I mentioned trucking. I mentioned infrastructure. This one's up about 100%. It is 100% from 8 to 16. Again, this is something we're going to continue to discuss is the way it's moved. It's not done that in 1 or 2 days. It's not gone extremely ridiculously parabolic like a dry ships did a few weeks ago. This is something that has gone up tick by tick by tick, a lot like X, a lot like, kind of like Fran. But this has a deep fade. If it just retraces back to the 10 moving average, that's 14. That's a $2 fade from right here. So I kind of like this one as a swing short as well. I want to start putting some positions on here. And if there's another strong sector, is somehow, somewhere in all of this infrastructure, they felt that retail, like all the consumers were going to have millions of dollars to spend at retail locations because we saw this incredible move in retail stocks. Things like Coors going parabolic. We've had Fran, F-R-A-N. You have this Tillis that was right in the middle of all of this, making 40 to 45% moves in a single day. This thing is up monstrous. And, I understand this. Again, I hate to keep going back to the mini camp. This is one of the things we're going to talk about. It's not that you disagree, you look at something and you say, I don't understand why this stock went up that much. You know, the market does that. The market goes up sometimes more, like the old saying, the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. And it's true. You know, people, it's an emotional thing. It's not always based on fundamentals. It's not always based on technicals. You know, emotions sometimes control the entire tempo of the market, and you get this fear of missing out. You know the emotions if you've traded. So you get these things, you understand, hey, you did good on earnings, you got some good guidance. You can understand why a stock would go up. But then there's a point where you're like, okay, you've gone up way too much. You're way past any justification on this. So you have to look at these on a trade-by-trade basis. On a Tilly's, I like what I was doing with Fran early. If I bring up Fran, I tried Fran a couple of times and it did not work until on Friday. And I was looking for just some lower highs and a break of support. You know, I tried on the break of support on Thursday, which was 21.55. And it just kind of dipped slightly below that to 21.39 and then snapped back. I had no choice but to cover. And then it goes back up to 22. Well, the next day I tried again and it finally breaks the very low of 21.96. And I got short just a little bit before that. And then that was the day it decided to go red. It was very similar to what we saw with Tillis. So that's kind of what I'm looking there. You know, Tillis now kind of re-gearing and making a new attempt at highs, which is 15. So if it gets parabolic over 15, I'd be looking to short this one. All right, so after my long-winded watch list talk, I'm going to finish off the remaining piece of this cazadores that I have. That sounds sexy when I say that, cazadores. Oh, it's not bad. I don't want you to forget about the mini camp. You know, one of the misconceptions a lot of times is people think when you are a short seller, or you're thinking about short selling, that you're a negative human being, or something's wrong with you, or it's not morally right. Well, if you're trading stocks at all, there's a lot of moral issues from some of the companies that you're trading. And as I said in the beginning, you need to know one of the things traders kind of mess up is they never learn what the other side thinks about. So when you're shorting, I'm always thinking about what is a long? Where would a long be stopped out? Where would longs be taking profits? That helps me manage my short trades. When I long a stock, I think about where will short sellers be? You know, where will a short seller get stopped out? What is a short seller thinking? Where will they add? Where will they be? And that helps me manage my long positions. So it's always important, no matter what you want to do, is that you know who's on the opposite side of the trade and how the other side thinks. That's how you make it. And I think everybody who's successful at trading at least gets the idea of the general concept. On the second part of that, we're entering a time here where there is going to be massive opportunity to the short side. And it's going to be one of the best. I think it's going to start out by February. From now until February, it's going to be one of the largest personal gains that I'll probably ever experience. So I'm looking forward to it. As I said, you get the free DVD. Is this tequila taking control? You get the free DVD. You get free access to the trade room. It allows you to see this stuff. It's a win-win for everybody, 5-part series. So check it out. The link is below. So I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed your week of trading. As always, you know how to get in touch with me. If you ever have any questions, my email is support@thelincolnlist.com. If you like tequila, you're going to mix yourself a daiquiri or any other 100 drinks that come with, give yourself a little cazadores with the, I don't know why there's a deer on the front of it, but this is a pretty good, smooth, clean, and nice tasting tequila. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching this video. Till next week, cheers, take care.